The UFC just dropped some wild news. Charles Oliveira will be going up against Rafael Fiziev at UFC Fight Night Brazil after getting knocked out by my king, my GOAT, Ilia Topuria 3 months ago. And I'm gonna be honest, folks, I think this is his retirement fight. I think this is the last fight we will get to see Charles Oliveira. We're gonna talk about it in this video. We also have Carlos Ulberg versus Dominic Reyes at UFC Perth. And they also just dropped this like a couple hours ago. Marlon Chito Vera's back, and he's going up against Ariel Helwani, or should I say, Amin Zahabi. This one's in Vancouver. I feel like Amin Zahabi only fights in Canada, which I understand because it's easy to slide him into like a main card. He's from Canada. They support him there. But we're going to talk about these fights. But let's just talk about Charles Oliveira first. Charles Oliveira, do Bronx. He's on a rapid decline right now. He's 36 years old. I'm not going to say he's washed, but it's kind of weird to have a quick turnaround like this. And for this to be in Brazil, his hometown, I feel like, this is his retirement fight. Because if not, I feel like the UFC would have matched him up with Max Holloway. I feel like Max Holloway would have been the guy. Max Holloway just fought recently. Charles Oliveira was like a couple months earlier. I feel like that was the fight to make. Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. Their first fight ended quickly with Charles Oliveira having that injury to the esophagus. And, winner would have gotten right back in that title shot. Or, just, close to the title. Obviously, lightweight is in a difficult situation right now with, Arman Tsarukyan not wanting to fight. Paddy Pimlet's there in the limbo, and Justin Gaethje saying he wants a title shot. So, for this matchup to happen, I think Charles Oliveira is going to call it a career, especially in his hometown. We just saw Dustin Poirier get his goodbye in his hometown in Lafayette, Louisiana. And it's funny enough, UFC Brazil did not have a main event. So for this to be the main event, for him to fight Fiziev, who Fiziev is coming off for a good win against, Bahamondes, Ignacio Bahamondes. It wasn't like a super good win, but it was a good crafty vet win by Rafael Fiziev beating Ignacio Bahamondes. And Fiziev is kind of low in the rankings. You would think like he would get like a Gamrot fight, or somebody along the lines of just still like a 7 through 8. But I think this is Charles Oliveira's final fight in the UFC. I just think that, I think he just said, what, I'm not going to keep going. I'm not going to keep fighting and trying to make a title run at, 40 years old. What is he going to do? He's already lost to Ilia Topuria for the belt. He's going to have to fight 3 more times. And he's going to be like, what? By that time, 38 years old, 39 years old. He's a little bit more active than Arman Tsarukyan. Arman Tsarukyan, you need to fight. You need to fight, bro. But, Charles Oliveira, he's not getting any younger. He's getting older. He's declining. And I think this is his retirement fight. I think, I think he just saw the opportunity. Oh, this card is in Brazil. Let me take this fight and just call it a career here with the winner lost. Against Fiziev, who I think he's going to win. He's going to beat Fiziev. Fiziev, decent grappling, but he doesn't have the knockout power that Gaethje has, or he doesn't have the Ilia Topuria knockout power like that. He's good on the feet, but he's not gonna be so threatening that Charles Oliveira is not gonna be able to get the win. I think Charles Oliveira is gonna win this fight. I think he's gonna call it a career, and he's gonna go off into the sunset in his hometown, in Brazil, man. I just feel like this is it. And I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is just an easy matchup for him to, get back out there." But it's too weird, and it's too, it's just too weird to say, oh, he's getting, you know, an easy win and he's going back out there quick. Like, I just think he's done. I think he's calling it a career, you know, in his hometown, and it's over for him. I think he's done. And he's going to get the win over Fiziev, hopefully. I pray he does. I need him to win. And that's it. I think this is the end of Charles Oliveira and at his time in the UFC. I just really think of it as like a retirement fight right now because, you know, Dustin just had his in his hometown. This is Charles Oliveira's time. And, you know, you can see it in the comment section. A lot of people saying, oh, this is a fight night card. This is way too soon. The fact that it's a fight night card and he's coming back soon, you just have to think he's retiring. You just have to think he's retiring. Especially with, you know, how quick it is and him just, you know what, I'm just going to get a fight in Brazil and call it quits. I think this is it. I think this is it for Charles Oliveira. And I hope he beats Fiziev. But let's move on. We have Carlos Ulberg versus Dominic Reyes. I did not want this matchup for Dominic Reyes, but eventually we were going to get a matchup that Dominic Reyes was probably not going to win. And I just think Carlos Ulberg is just too good. He's too good with the leg kicks. He's so technical. He's so good on the back foot. I just think Carlos Ulberg is going to go out there and have a decision win over Dominic Reyes. And he'll be either one fight away from the belt, or they'll probably just give him the belt after this. I really don't know, because Jiri Prochazka is fighting against Khalil Roundtree pretty soon, and those two have racked up a couple wins. Obviously, it's against Jamal Hill. I think Ulberg is a new face. I think Ulberg should be getting the title shot. Whoever the winner of this should be getting a title shot. But I think Carlos Ulberg is gonna go out there and beat Dominic Reyes, especially in Perth. You know, he's not gonna let his Carlos Ulberg, he's an old prospect. He's a pretty old prospect. His title run is now, and he needs this win against Dominic Reyes, and he's gonna go after that belt. So I think Ulberg is gonna go out there and beat Dominic Reyes. Ulberg is not gonna go out there and blitz Reyes and get caught by a shot. No, he's gonna be, smart. He's gonna be technical, and I think Carlos Ulberg is gonna get the win. We move on. Marlon Chito Vera against Aiemann Zahabi. This was I think this was a good fight. I think this was the fight to make. Obviously, it was supposed to be Mara Bautista versus Vera, but Vera pulled out. Patchy Mix stepped in. We all saw the catastrophe that Patchy Mix is, and I think this is a better fight for Vera. I think this is a really good fight for Zahabi. I think Zahabi's gonna win this fight. I'm gonna be honest with you. This could be a really close fight. I can see this being a split decision fight. But Zahabi, that win against Aldo, man, I just look back at it and I think, damn, he had a really good fight. He had a really good fight against Aldo. He came back from adversity. Obviously, I'm not saying Chito Vera is like washed or anything, but I just think, I think Zahabi got this, and especially in his hometown of Vancouver, Canada. Usually when he's out there in Canada, he puts on good shows. He's always there for the win. And I think against Vera, this might be a little bit more tougher for him, but I think he can pull the win out with the striking. I feel like he can, distance himself from the kicks of Vera. He has really good grappling. I can see Aiemann Zahabi winning this fight. I can see Ariel Helwani just doing what he does out there in the striking, and I see him winning this fight. I really do see him winning this fight. But that's all I got, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just sad that this is really Charles Oliveira's retirement fight. This has to be his retirement fight, and I hope I really do hope he puts down the gloves, because I don't know. What is his next fight after Fiziev? It's gonna be a killer in the top 5, and I'm scared that Oliveira is just not gonna win, dude. I'd rather him retire in his hometown and call it a career like Dustin Poirier did. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'm GNEPS MMA. Like and subscribe. I'm out, folks.